Ghostbuster! Each series separate.
Proton pack ready. Ghostbusters loaded.
Since the Ghostbusters first burst into the Sedgwick Hotel back in 1984 and shouted,
Hey, anybody see a ghost?
fans around the world have wanted their own unlicensed nuclear accelerator. And over 40 years later, there's been quite a lot of options. From the cheap children's toys, to the high-end props from Mattel and Hasbro. And the cheaper props from companies like the Skies, Spirit Halloween and Rubies. And that is without mentioning all the wonderful fan makers that are out there, and the fact that the advances in 3D printing technology have made it so much easier to make your own ghost-busting equipment at home. But what options were there back in the 80s? Well, the truth is, Kenner gave us a lot of items to bust ghosts and keep our houses spook-free. So, join me and Slimer as we take a look at the history of the Kenner Real Ghostbusters role-playing range. When the original movie of Ghostbusters released in 1984, there wasn't a whole lot of merch available. Some books, puzzles, weird promotional fly swatters, but it wasn't until the Real Ghostbusters animated series released in 1986 that things really picked up. Kenner gave us a fantastic toy line that did launch late 1986, though didn't reach most places and countries until 1987. And what a fantastic toy line it was. It started off with the Ecto-1 and the 4 Ghostbusters, and if you grew up like me playing with those toys, you know you had an amazing childhood. But Kenner knew that figures were not going to be enough. Kids wanted to put a Proton pack on their back.
The Proton pack is not a toy.
I guess that's right.
A Neutrona wand in their hand and bust ghosts. And they did start giving us role-playing toys to do just that. Now, you might think the Proton pack was the first one, but it actually wasn't. It was the Ghost Zapper. This was a light projection gun that projected the image of ghosts on the wall and had 4 zapping sounds, which to a kid were great. To my old adult ears, they're rather annoying. Luckily, the way the batteries worked, you had 2C and 1 9-volt, and the 9-volt was the one that actually controlled the sounds. So, my tip to anyone who buys a vintage one of these for their children, remove the 9-volt and don't tell them. The Ghost Zapper came with a disc that included 6 different ghosts. The Zapper had a button on the bottom allowing you to animate those projections. And the 6 ghosts on that disc were Gozer, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, Slug from the Real Ghostbusters episode Ghosts Are Us,
And I don't like waiting.
a Terror Dog, Bad to the Bone, and of course, the Green Ghost himself, Slimer. But that isn't it for the Ghost Zapper. Thank you, Slimer. Kenner actually did a second disc. It was a mail-away offer on the back of some of the action figures. As you can see here, it says, special offer, Ghost Zapper film cartridge. Double your fun with a second Ghost Zapper film cartridge. 6 more wacky ghost images to zap. Simply remove the old cartridge and insert the new one, and you have 6 new ghosts to zap. This is an item a lot of people didn't know about, and these extra discs tend to go for quite a lot of money now on the secondary market. I had a lot of fun projecting ghosts onto the walls with this as a child, and I had a lot more wall space back then. But I never felt like I was really shooting ghosts. But luckily, our next product from Kenner solved that problem.
It's Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Rooster.
The Ghost Popper. This was one of my favourite items in the range, mainly because it shot actual projectiles. It had targets on the back, so you could shoot little cardboard cutouts of Slimer and Stay Puft. But let's be honest, you were shooting your family and friends, wasn't you? It was very simple to use. All you had to do, take one of the foam darts, put in the end, pull the handle back and smack it forwards. The harder you hit this, the further that went. So much fun. In 2021, Hasbro re-released this as part of their Kenner Classics range. It was basically the same item, it was just in a blue colour, which matched the Proton pack and some of the other toys that we'll be talking about very shortly. Weirdly, you could argue because of the colour they picked, it actually made it look more Kenner than the actual Kenner one. Hasbro even released a newer, updated version of the Ghost Popper. This one was inspired by the Mini Puffs, with Mini Puff faces on the foam darts, and it took some inspiration from the Ecto one. Hey Slimer, catch!
Proton pack ready.
Now, as good as the Ghost Popper and the Ghost Zapper were, there was one thing we all really wanted, and that of course was the Proton pack. And that is what Kenner released next. But before we talk about that, we should really talk about the unreleased Neutrona Blaster laser light weapon. The 1987 Kenner The Heat Goes On Toy Fair catalogue contains the Ghostbusters range up to that point and what they were planning, and one of those things was the Real Ghostbusters Neutrona Blaster laser light weapon, a product that sadly never got released. As far as I know, this is the only time it was ever actually publicly acknowledged, and it looked very cool. We don't know why it wasn't released, we can only speculate. I would assume either the technology just wasn't quite good enough, or it was too expensive and they decided people wouldn't have paid the money for it, so they decided to scrap it. But let's take a look at it, because we do get a nice look at what it would have been like. These are obviously renders, not the final image, and it does show a rough idea of what the box art would have looked like. The Real Ghostbusters Neutrona Blaster laser light weapon. A child can pretend to be a member of the Real Ghostbusters team, either alone or with friends. The set includes an infrared weapon, target sensor, belt and reversible overlay, which can be placed on the face of the target sensor. One side of the overlay is the Real Ghostbusters logo, the other side is a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, so that a child becomes one of the Real Ghostbusters team or the Ghost. The target sensor can be set up across the room up to 80 feet so that a child can practice shooting alone. The eyes of the target overlay blink red so the child knows when to shoot. Each hit is registered on the target, and after the 6th hit, the target sounds off, letting them know that they're a winner. For a bigger challenge, a child can team up with friends. One child chooses to be the Ghost, the other the Real Ghostbusters, to create their own ghost-chasing adventures. So, unfortunately, that was a product that wasn't to be. Also would have been one of the few products to actually use batteries in the range. There wasn't a lot of them. The Ghost Zapper, which we've already talked about, and the Ghost Spooker, which we'll be talking about shortly. Well, it's now time to talk about the toy we all wanted, and that is, of course, the Proton pack. I'll never forget the Christmas I got this, and this was probably the toy I played with the most as a child, having it on my back and just running around the house busting ghosts. But it wasn't just the Proton pack in the box, you did get some very cool accessories. You got the Ghostbusters armband, which you'd put around your arm, making it look like you've got the Ghostbusters patch, no matter what you're wearing. You got your Ghostbusters ID card, and you got a P-key meter with working dial, a belt clip so it could sit on your belt, and if you turned this wheel at the back, the antennae would move, showing you when ghosts are near. Oh, hello, Slimer. The Proton pack itself was a really nice bit of kit. Very nice detailing all the way around and feels very sturdy with these 2 straps so you could put it on your back. The modern day equivalent released for Ghostbusters Afterlife by Hasbro, whilst yes it is more detailed, just doesn't feel up to the quality and ruggedness of that Kenner original. And unlike the modern day equivalent, you actually got the Neutrona wand in the box. This had a really interesting feature where you got this yellow bit of foam that would plug into the end, allowing you to simulate the proton stream. It also had a trigger on the bottom to make those ghost-busting noises. It's funny, looking at this as an adult, it seems so small. I'm sure this was like triple the size when I was younger. Now, of course, this does need to attach to the Proton pack. It's simply attached at the bottom through the tube, and then went over like that. So you could go on all your ghost-busting adventures. I really can't state enough how much I loved this toy as a child, and probably started that obsession with dressing up as a Ghostbuster for myself, and I'm sure tens of thousands of fans around the world, which is why we all now run around in bigger Proton packs. But yes, absolutely loved this as a child, and even as an adult, I still think it's cool. And to be honest, if they made a scaled up version of this, I'll be first in line to buy it and wear it.
I need some room to put the trap down. Give me some room.
The flowers are still standing.
Well, we had our Proton pack, our PKA meter, so what did we need next? Well, of course, it was a ghost trap. And that's exactly what we got, although not probably the ghost trap you're thinking of. We actually got what they called the Ghost Spooker. And this was more of a voice-changing toy. It came with the speaker, which was loosely based on the ghost trap, and the microphone that allowed you to change the pitch of your voice. Simply roll the ghost trap to wherever you want, hide behind the sofa, talk through it, and scare your friends.
This was one of only two of the Kenner roleplay range required batteries. 3 if you include the unreleased Neutrona blaster light gun weapon. Most of the other stuff in the Kenner range used really clever mechanical functions.
In case you couldn't understand that, this was one of only 2 items released in the entire Kenner roleplay range that required batteries, the other being the Ghost Zapper. We would have had 3 if that Neutrona blaster light gun weapon was released. But most of their toys used really cool mechanical features, no batteries required.
Ecto goggles down. It's Marshmallow Man. Ecto popper, pop 'em. Another ghost. My Neutrona blast is ready. So's my water zapper. Roast 'em.
So we've had a Proton pack, we've had a trap, now we need our Ecto goggles, and that is what Kenner brought us next, alongside the Neutrona blaster and the water zapper. But we'll take a look at this first. So I guess Kenner didn't think the Ecto goggles was enough to make a good toy, so they included this small ghost popper. Simply put the pink foam dart in the end, give it a squeeze, and it shoots off. The goggles themselves held your 4 foam darts, nice and easy, allowing you to take them off and shoot all those ghosts. Now the goggles themselves are also moulded in transparent plastic, all of it. So it's not just these 2 bits you see through, you can see through the whole thing, and I am pretty certain that is a health and safety thing, so none of the child's view is obstructed. Ah, there you are. Everyone loves a water pistol, and that is what we had next. The Ghostbusters Water Zapper action toy. This is basically a water pistol based on the Neutrona wand. Simply put the water in there, and then pump it backwards and forwards to soak your enemies. We spoke earlier about the Neutrona Blaster light gun toy, which of course never got released. However, they did release something called the Neutrona Blaster, and this was it. This was a standalone gun toy. It was a really cool addition actually to the range. So it didn't look massively like the Neutrona Blaster from Ghostbusters, but what I liked about it was it came with a piece of foam like you got with a Proton pack, except this one simulated the look of the Proton stream a little bit better, I feel. You put that in the end, turn this wheel around, and you've got a really cool Proton stream effect. Although I do think that wheel needs a little bit of oiling. Now in hindsight, I feel like they could have actually sold this as a Proton pack upgrade toy, perhaps. You could have had the bit so you could actually strap it to your pack, and yeah, I just think with that effect, great toy. Yeah, I agree, Slimer. Let's take a moment to appreciate all that wonderful Kenner packaging. So we now had the Proton pack, the PKE meter, the ecto goggles, and all these other weapons, but we still needed a ghost trap. Yes, the spooker was cool, but it wasn't the trap we wanted, and that is what Kenner gave us next. And to me, this is one of the cleverest toys they actually released. I absolutely loved this thing. I still remember where I was when I got this. I was actually in hospital, believe it or not, on my birthday when I got this, but I had a lot of fun. Really cheered me up. Now, at first glance, it just looks like a very basic toy, but to me what makes it so clever, and something you don't really think about as a child, is the way it opens. There's no electronics in this thing at all, but it opens because the pedal is simply a pump that just opens and closes the doors. It's so clever, and I can't believe that they haven't re-released a version of this with the same mechanics. I just think it's so cool. It came with a glow-in-the-dark gel jaw ghost, and if you positioned him right on the trap, you could actually jump him up and catch him instantly. So at this point, we had all the Ghostbusting equipment we now needed. We had the Proton pack, goggles, PKE, and finally the ghost trap. So Kenner had to start getting a little bit creative with their next releases, and the next two I'm going to show you is the Grab-O-Meter and the Rapid Fire Ecto Blaster.
Fire Ecto Blaster! Got him! He's back! Grab-O-Meter ready! Fire! Ah! What a monster! Really slimed you!
The Grab-O-Meter was a bit of a weird toy, designed for just grabbing hold of those ghosts. It had this little flip-up screen so you could target your ghosts easily, a dial with that annoying clicking sound that a lot of toys had, and you even had this little attachment that could go on the bottom. So once you've grabbed hold of the ghost, it shoots it as well. I mean, you've already caught hold of the ghost. Shooting it whilst you've got hold of it just seems a bit extra mean, don't you think, Slimer?
Right!
The Rapid Fire Blaster, I think, is one of the weaker parts of the toy line. As you can see, design-wise, it's taken some elements from the old Ghost Popper. You get 4 of these pink plastic darts. There's a little locking mechanism here that you push down to stop them coming out as you load it. And you push them in like this to load the gun. Now, the fact it's called Rapid Fire, you may think it's similar to a Nerf gun, but it is not. So, push that back in, lock that up, and then basically you just pull this back and shoot it like that. So, not a lot of power to it, and those darts are quite hard plastic compared to the nice foam darts you got with the Ghost Popper. So I feel the Ghost Popper just had more reach, was safer, a much better toy. As some of the other toys in the range, there are a couple of targets on the back of the box for you to cut out and shoot, and Slimer appreciates that he gets a bit of a break and they're just 2 different ghosts rather than your usual Slimer and Stay Puft.
Ecto Charger Slimer! Miss!
In 1989, Ghostbusters 2 arrived, and it was everywhere. We had it on cereal boxes, 5 Alive cartons, we had trading cards, bubblegum, you name it, I think we got it. Now, you'd think Kenner would have took full advantage of this and done a whole range of Ghostbusters 2 toys, but they only really gave us 2, technically. They gave us a re-release of the Ecto 1 toy, just with Ecto 1A stickers, and they gave us a version of the Slime Blower, which they called the Ecto Charger. The Ecto Charger was a pink purpley backpack modelled after the Slime Blower as seen in Ghostbusters 2, and even had a Ghostbusters 2 logo sticker. There was a different version of this that they planned to release, and a prototype did turn up on eBay a few years ago. And as the box tells you, activate the hidden wands to de-energise ghosts. Now, you might be thinking that Kenner gave us a lot of really cool Ghostbusting equipment to bust ghosts with, but no uniform. Well, they did as part of the Find the Ghosts contest that was included on some of the action figures around the time of Ghostbusters 2. Help Peter Venkman track down the troublesome Scoleri Brothers ghosts from the Ghostbusters 2 movie with your own ghost-seeking Geiger meter viewer. Inside this and other specially marked packages is a special ghost hunting map and the Geiger meter viewer to help you find the ghosts and win an official ghost fighting uniform as pictured here. And we have one of those uniforms right here, an official Ghostbusters 2 uniform. On the back it says Back off, man. I'm a Ghostbuster. You have Ghostbusters where the name tag would be. And of course, on the arm, you have the Ghostbusters 2 logo. As we entered the 90s, interest in Ghostbusters was starting to drop. New York had a new set of 4 heroes that kids were very quickly getting interested in. The Real Ghostbusters cartoon series came to an end, as did the toy line. It ended with 2 roleplay weapons. One, I think, was one of the weakest toys, one of the best. But that's not where our story ends, so be sure to hang around after I've shown you these. So, the weakest one I consider is the Ecto headphones with radar blaster. Now, the fact this is called headphones might make you think there's some electronics involved, but there's not. You turn this dial, the antennae will rotate, and it makes a little springing noise in your ear. You also get this radar blaster. Simply put the plastic bullet in, press the button, and it launches off. And that is a really hard plastic bullet, so I can see a lot of injuries happened with that back in the day.
And with my new Ghost Nabber, all systems are go. Let's get him!
And the last of the released toys, the Ghost Nabber. Now, this was based loosely on the Ghost Sniffer as used by Peter Venkman in the original Ghostbusters movie.
What is that thing you're doing?
It's technical. It's one of our little toys.
And I think this is a fantastic toy. Like I said, loosely based on the Ghost Sniffer, it has a strap so you can hold it over your shoulder. You have the wand, and you get 3 ghosts included with this. Use the wand to catch the ghosts like this, and then this portion of the sniffer, you open up and store those ghosts inside. A great toy, and a good toy to end the line on. It's a shame it's not as well known about, because as I said, people were moving on to other things when this was released. These are quite limited now, especially in the box. But all things must come to an end, but let's take a look at what could have been. The Kenner 1991 Trade Fair catalogue gave us a glimpse at what could have been, and they planned to continue the Ghostbusters line. They had planned backpack heroes, an Ecto-Glow copter, Egon's Lab playset, the Firefighter vehicle, but when it comes to role-playing toys, they plan to give us the Ghost Blaster and the Slimerizer. The Ghost Blaster accessory: capture 10 ghosts at once with the new Ghost Blaster. By repeatedly pulling the trigger, kids can rapidly launch 10 soft plastic discs which fly for 10 feet. Guaranteed to handle the fiercest ghosts in your neighbourhood. The Real Ghostbusters Slimerizer accessory. Ghosts won't have a chance against the new Slimerizer. By pumping the handle, kids can shoot free foamed slime projectiles over 20 feet. Slime balls can also be mounted on handle when not in use. Well, that's a look at the Kenner role-playing range. And what a range it was. We had everything. We had proton packs, we had traps, PK meters, ghost poppers, ghost zappers. I'm so glad I got to grow up in the 80s and 90s when I got to play with all those toys. Magical time, and we had a great range of stuff. Absolutely love it. Thanks for watching the video, and hopefully me and Slimer will see you in the next one. But until then, keep on busting.
Want to give a big shout out to the Magic Ghostbuster. Hey Darren, very, very impressive.